This is the voice of Killer Cross. Right about now. We're about to take it to the max.
This is the pretty badass Kelly Klein telling you to turn it to 11 and take it to the max.
Hey everybody, it's the interview queen Alicia Atute here, and you are currently listening to the Max Wrestling Podcast. It's time to take it to the max.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Madhouse.
Charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy. Welcome to the Madhouse.
The winner of the first Promo Climax and a former Promo Champion. He built a group from the ground up to over 4,000 members and built a successful relationship with Max Wrestling. Now, after shocking us all by challenging his former friend The Butcher, it's time to hear from the Kingpin.
Welcome to another edition of Max Wrestling in the Hot Seat. I am your host, Mike Larkin, and 1/3 of the Max Wrestling Podcast. And my guest today is none other than the RWT Kingpin himself, making his return to promo action at this coming PromoMania V in a rematch from PromoMania IV against longtime rival The Butcher. Great friends, but better enemies. Amir Blackbane Costello, the man behind RWT. How you doing tonight?
Mike Larkin, hello, man. I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. First and foremost, it's been a year since you were in this hot seat alongside Dazzy Dangerously, the captain, and now 1 year later, you are back. You are taking on The Butcher in a highly anticipated rematch from last year's PromoMania. How are you feeling, Amir?
I feel pretty good. You know, it's always a pleasure to be in the hot seat. My ass hairs are still singed from the last time. But you know, it's one of those things where it feels like the right time to be doing something like this. So, it's a pleasure, man.
All right, well, I got to say, first and foremost, a lot has transpired. The Promo Championship was reemerged in 2018. Now, obviously, the original Promo Championship back in the day, around 2015, 2016, we saw David the Butcher Gillum and Evan Money McCabe as the first two Promo Champions. Then it was gone, and then we see it resurge back in 2018 with the inaugural Promo Climax, which you, sir, won by defeating The Butcher in the final and becoming the inaugural Promo Champion. I got to ask you, talk about that time period, the Promo Championship coming back and the inaugural Promo Climax.
So the whole promo thing, here's one thing I remember. I remember we had like a promo thing going in RWT. It wasn't a league. It really wasn't anything more at the time than me going, I think I'm a guy who has something to say. And I think other people in this group might have something to say. So I created this challenge where I'm like, I'm going to cut a promo and I'm going to call somebody out, which at the time happened to be Tony Gonzalez. And then she'll cut a promo and call somebody else out. And let's just see what we can get going. And in the middle of all that, we linked up with Max Wrestling, yourself, David, and Dazzy Lee, and you guys started talking about this idea of the promo, all these promos and stuff like that used to exist, and nobody really gave me really a full history on it at the time. But it seemed like it'd be a good idea to kind of take all the people who are interested in cutting promos and create some sort of climax that would mirror the settings of the New Japan G1 climax and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm down for that. And I don't know, man. I just remember going against, several different people and feeling confident in myself and not really knowing if people would like what I had to say or would understand who I was as an individual. And what I immediately found out was like, just like when I make music, people felt like the stuff I was saying was good, but it didn't match my character, and so it was hard for them to buy into it. A lot of people were saying, you smile too much, you're too nice, you're too this, you're too that, and it was almost like people wanted me to be like, people acted like the only way you could cut a good promo is if you're angry. And I think that anybody who believes that doesn't really understand what it means to cut a promo. But I just remember, bro, I won one match and I won another, and I really had no expectation that I would win the whole thing. But then there came a point where things started to take shape, and all of a sudden it felt like I could win the whole thing. And that's where it got scary, man. I'll be honest with you, because it was like, I remember going against Robert Davis. I think he was the last guy stood in my way. And even if I got past him, I still was going to have to face off against, I don't know if I knew it at the time, but at some point it became clear. I'm pretty sure, I think David got in before I did. Was that true?
Yes.
Yeah. So I went into the Robert Davis match knowing even if I get past Robert Davis, which is no easy feat, I would still have to I would have David waiting for me on the other end. And who wants that? And so I went against Robert Davis, and to my shock and disbelief, I won. And then it was me versus David. And I remember he just cut this promo, and he's like, it's real now, it's on now, it's the world's getting what they want. Oh man, it was intense, man. What do you remember from that time, Mike Larkin?
Oh, dude, for me, I got to say this. I remember you cut a pipe bomb on my ass, which I will never, ever forget, which was absolutely amazing. That you hate this idea that I'm the best at this podcasting thing. For me, I just remember also Robert Davis is the one who debuted the Stat Man on me. I was the first to feel the wrath of the Stat Man, not a Scat Man. I'm Robert Davis, and do-do-do-dee, do-do-do-da. But I mean, around that time period, it was a lot of fun. And for me, I guess going into it, when I'll be honest with you, that was around the time when I didn't have a knowledge champion competitor at that promo slam, which was the month before and all that started, right? So I was just answering questions to enter. I got into it, and then and then I saw everybody's promos from you, from Tony Kirkendall, from Daniel Crimmins, from Moni Lynn, Robert Davis. I remember watching you, and I thought, man, I mean, with your bouts with Robert Davis, and again, no easy feat. We had your bout with Butcher going at promo series that year. Excuse me. I was really impressed just to see what you did because you were doing your thing, and I always liked your dynamic that you had with each and every opponent that you had. So it was very exciting to see you become the first inaugural promo champion in 2018 against the Butcher. It really was the start of what would become one of the best rivalries in the history of Max Wrestling / RWT.
Yeah, man. I think what was really disappointing about that whole situation between me and David, and that the first time we faced each other, is we had this incredible build, and nobody can deny the chemistry that exists between David and myself. In fact, no offense to anybody that's out there competing, but I've never felt that anybody else has the chemistry that I have with David, because David is an unapologetic bully. Like he has no interest in being respectful. He has no qualms about crossing lines. He's gonna say whatever he wants to say, and if you have a problem with it, good. That's how he feels. And there's not a lot of people who will come back at David. And though we've seen people in the past who did come back at him, but it was apparent that the way that they came back at him, they were so, it was just pure aggression, which is one way of doing things, but is it the best way? And I think with me, I understood how to approach David. I understood how to. I could meet David where he was. That was the thing. I knew the man. I knew the man with the mask on. I knew the man behind the mask. Therefore, I understood how to get to the heart of the matter when it came to things with him, and I wasn't afraid to say to him what I really thought, and I wasn't afraid. I loved to stand with him, but I was never afraid to stand against him. And I think that was one of the things that made the rivalry between him and I great. And the way that first one ended was difficult, because at the end of the day, it didn't really end up being about, it wasn't about he and I, and that, when the final battle for the promo championship, Unfortunately, the rivalry between him and myself and the great build that we had really took a back seat to an old beef that he had with you and Daz and some of the former Max boys who weren't around anymore uh, for a little bit of a joke that was pulled on him. And he chose that moment to try to get you guys back, which I think really was an unfortunate end to an otherwise great build and great feud between he and I at that time.
Oh yeah, I remember last year you were talking about like he sent Moses Marquez to challenge me for the Knowledge Championship around that time, and well, we all saw how that went. But we'll get to Moses Marquez later in the show. And there was a lot of conspiring around that time. But I mean, it's 2 years later, or a year and a half, 2 years later, right? So we're around this time period where you're the promo champion, you and the Butcher. It's done for now. You go on to podcast Promo Rumble, and your first title defense was against none other than the Queen herself, Miss Moni Lynn. Can you tell us what that was like going into your first title defense, Amir, that being Miss Moni Lynn?
Going against Moni Lynn was one of the scariest things that I ever did, because there was part of me who felt like, you know what, this girl isn't on my level. All right, let me just be frank about that. There was a part of me that was like, she's not on my level. There's no way she could ever beat me, right? That's the ego. That's my ego talking. Then once you get past the giant ego, there's a scared little boy in the corner who goes, "Are you out of your mind? This woman could mop the floor with you." Because at the end of the day, it's not just about your ability to talk. It's cutting promos is like all things in life. It's about more than just one thing. Okay, I can talk good. All right, good. Do I look like Moni Lynn? No. not on any day of the week. I'll never look like Moni Lynn. And the other thing too is she might not talk like I do, but I remember I cut this promo, in the build, and I was begging Moni Lynn, "Hey man, don't make me do this to you, please. While you still can, bow out, sit down somewhere. It's not worth it. I don't want to hurt you, dude." I remember I said, Robert Davis, if you can hear me, Robert Diaz, even you're Moni Lynn's husband. If you can hear me, please convince her. She doesn't want this problem with Black Bane. And so I felt really good about that promo because I'm like, yeah, I'm I'm crying out to her family members, to her friends, the people who know her best, to convince her to step away so I don't have to murder her in front of everybody. And I was like, good. People will understand how bad this is going to get for her. And then she took that, and her response to all that, she just made a video dying of laughter. just completely dying of laughter. And in that moment, I realized, like, I'm nobody. I'm nobody. I'm nothing. Like, I did my best to intimidate somebody, and it inspired laughter in them. So this is bad for me. This is bad. It's that moment where the bully comes up to pick on some kid in school, and the kid says in his mind, "You know what? This is crazy. I'm just gonna punch this guy in his fucking face, and he may go down. And if he goes down, I'll be a fucking hero." And so this kid cocks his fist way back, and then he brings it straight up, hits the bully right on the chin as hard as he can. And the bully looks down at him and smiles. And in that moment, all that kid could think is, "Oh shit, I just fucked up." And that's how I felt when Moni Lynn gave that response of just laughing at all my threats. I was like, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad for me. She's not intimidated. She's got a lot of momentum. She's got a beautiful face. I remember talking about somebody, she beat the Butcher on her first try. And not because Butcher laid down. But let's be clear about something. Let's be clear about something. I have said this. I have no qualms about saying this. I've never beat David before, okay? Our first match, he laid down, i.e., he refused to compete. It didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do with an old Max beef, but that's how it went. And in our second battle, which I'm sure we'll get to, he beat me. But that's not the case with Moni Lynn. Moni Lynn beat David, and for a long time he said because he voted for her. So essentially, it was like he let her win.
Mm-hmm.
But if I remember correctly, at some point he came out and said, "You know what? She beat me. It was what it was." All right. So, so I don't. I'm not pretty or good looking. All right. I'm the ugliest motherfucker of all time. That's one. Then Moni Lynn is somebody who's beaten David and beaten several other people, and I tried to be as intimidating as possible, and her reaction was to laugh. So so how did I feel? I felt like it wasn't going to go well, Mike Larkin.
Oh, I think I really, when you look back at that bout from Podcast Promo Rumble, you both brought it. And that's the thing. A lot of people, when you look at Moni Lynn, yes, she's a beautiful woman. Like, she's an amazing woman and just an overall amazing human being. But I think with her is like, she has that smile. She has that, hey guys, it's Moni Lynn. I mean, you saw my promo against her in Promo Climax too. And we'll talk about that as well. But I mean, dude, it's like, she's a very intense, it's that Latina heat. She's very intense with what she does. And she's very confident in herself and her abilities. And that's why I've always enjoyed Moni Lynn when she goes into these promos. And I'm still going to say this right now, and no disrespect, but in the inaugural Promo Climax, I still don't know how Daniel Crimmins beat her. And then we get to the next Promo Climax, and then she absolutely rips Daniel Crimmins a new asshole, popping each other's asshole. And I'm like, what in the world? So where was that intensity from the inaugural climax against Daniel Crimmins? And then she just rips Daniel Crimmins a new asshole, and I'm blown away. So I got to say, don't underestimate the queen that is Moni Lynn.
I agree. I made the mistake once, and then I've never made the mistake since.
And then you get, Amir, to last year's PromoMania, the amazing build between yourself and the Butcher. Tell us about going into that bout at PromoMania last year, and we'll discuss this year, but a lot of high stakes in that. You were the champ going into it against the Butcher. It's the rematch. It's the second bout against you two from what we saw at Promo Series. And like you mentioned, him laying down and you two just going balls to the wall last year. Touch upon that bout.
I think that bout was different for me because I went into the first bout knowing that he planned to lay down and me thinking, is he really going to do that? Or what? So I still had to prepare for the possibility that he was just trying to trick me or something. But then he did lay down, and that was what it was. But there was no lying down this time. And by the way, let me just go on the record stating I didn't want that to be the case in the first time around. I was prepared to fight David. So this time around, I knew for sure it was going to be a fight because David made it clear that I wasn't I wasn't his champion. And not only that, but he according to him, he gifted me the championship. He allowed me on what he felt was his platform to be handed this championship, given, not earned, given. And then I toiled, away the opportunity. I didn't do anything with it because in his estimation, if he was champion, he'd be doing this, he'd be doing that. And I wasn't doing any of whatever those things were. And so he's now going to take the belt back from me and show me what a real champion would do with the strap. And I think he tried to insinuate that like I wasn't defending it enough or whatever. And I was kind of like I was saying at the time, well, whenever this title needs to be defended, I've been there. There's only so many specials that have happened since I won the belt, but whatever has happened, whenever Daz has said this belt's got to be defended, there's a challenger. I stepped up. So to that point, I think the only person there was Moni Lynn, and then I think the very next time I defended it was against David. But it was difficult, and there was a lot of things that were said. The thing about David is he's not the kind of person that fights fair. And I know that's a waste of a statement because he's the best heel in the business. So what more do you expect? But I think what really got difficult for me concerning him was that I approached that situation with too much heart, and David didn't have heart in that sense. I mean, What I'm saying is like David and I could talk every day on the phone, and we did. You know, we were brothers, and we loved each other, and we had each other's backs. And then when it came time to do battle on the battlefield, I took that relationship into consideration. You know, oh man, there's some things I shouldn't say. Ah man, there's some things I shouldn't do because this is my brother who I love, and I would never want to hurt his feelings. But I think for David, that the fact that we were friends and the fact that we were brothers and the fact that we loved each other had no bearing on what he was willing to do or say when it came to us battling each other, you know, on the through promos. It made no difference. So for me, it was confusing because the things that he was saying and the things that he was doing, I was thinking to myself like, this guy is my friend. Why would he say that? This guy is my brother. Why would he do that? Because that's not how I would treat my friend, and that's not how I would treat my brother. And it took me a long time to adjust to the fact that for him, all that friendship and all that brother shit, that bullshit is way, way, way to the left. You know, David reminds me of, you know, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H was never going to let anything stand between him and that belt. There was no doubt about it. Everybody knew Triple H's best friend was Shawn Michaels, and he loved this guy, he loved that guy. But everybody knew the most important thing to Triple H of all was being the champion. He didn't give a fuck about friendships. He didn't care about anything else. He wanted to make his money, and he wanted to be the champion. And if you stood in his way in any capacity, you were going to get a sledgehammer to your kneecap. You're going to get a sledgehammer to your temple. He was going to take you out. And David made it clear that it was his intention to take me out.
Beautifully said, and I think that's what makes about I'll be honest with you, and this is why I'm like, I got two buds here. I got the Butcher and I got you, because I look at it like this, like you two, like you want to take each other on. I think that's what makes a great rivalry. Like you mentioned, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and really anybody that Triple H won against, whether it be Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, The Rock, The Undertaker, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really what I loved about the intensity behind your feud, which then led you guys to PromoMania at that time. And then so you're not the promo champion anymore. Butcher's the promo champion. A lot went down around his promo title reign. We'd see him on lives. We'd see Travis the Walker Anderson insert into the mix, where Travis would challenge him at Trivia Takeover, but we couldn't do that because it's a pay-per-view. It's our special around, you know, the Knowledge Championship. Then King of the Mic comes along. The Butcher is not in it. He is waiting for his challenger, which we'll go into Promo Slam in a second here. But dude, what did you think about the Butcher's promo championship reign all in all? I mean, we joked that he was the Brock Lesnar because he had a little bit of time to wait before his first title defense, and he likes to talk about Big B, that being Brock Lesnar. So I got to ask you, what were your thoughts about the Butcher's promo championship reign all in all, Amir?
I don't know, man. Well, help me understand something first, because
Yes.
I don't want to speak out of turn about David.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did he defend the belt?
None. His first title defense was Promo Slam right after King of the Mic in August.
And he defended the title against who?
Myself, Robert Davis, and Travis the Walker Anderson.
And then he lost, right?
Yep, to me.
Right. So what do I think about his title reign?
Go ahead.
I think it was shitty. I think that. By the way, if David can hear this, please feel free to feel offended by that. But also be honest with yourself and realize that you were shit for a champion. Listen, this is exactly Donald Trump and Barack Obama. This is exactly that, okay? Do you know how many things Donald Trump said about Obama? He should be doing this. He should be doing that. Blah, 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 blah.
I want to see the birth certificate.
Okay, when somebody is constantly saying this person should do this and this person should do that, what they are insinuating is if they were in that position, that's what they would do. Only what we've seen in the presidency, there's a billion examples of Trump not doing things that he told Obama, if I were the president, I would be doing these things. It's hypocrisy, and it was no different with David. David defended his title one time. There was a lot of people that challenged him. A lot of people. Okay, now somewhere in Wrexham, is it? I don't know.
Wrexham, yes,
Somewhere in
Wrexham.
the all right, somewhere in the UK, Daz is going. Well, hang on. We gotta cut the butcher a break because we had a tournament going on and we can't just have this guy defending the belt because otherwise, what are people fighting for? And there's supposed to be this prize at stake at the end of it. I know Daz is going to say that because Daz is politically correct.
Mm-hmm.
David is not politically correct. All right, David is a guy who would go anywhere at any time and say, "Dazzy Lee doesn't mean shit. Mike Larkin doesn't mean shit. I am Max Wrestling. I run Max Wrestling. I do what I want to do. The Butcher does what he wants when he wants." By the way, when he says that, I don't. It's listen. David absolutely loves Dazzy, and David, I believe, absolutely loves Mike Larkin. I don't think he's not saying it disrespectfully. He's saying it matter of factly. He truly believes that he is the embodiment of Max Wrestling, and he answers to no man. He's gonna do what the fuck when he wants. Okay, he's gonna do what the fuck he wants. He's gonna do it when he wants to do it. Except for all of a sudden, when people were showing up, laying out challenges for that title, and none more than Travis the Walker Anderson, it was a lot of like, "Hey man, listen, if I could, I'd do it. I mean, if it was up to me, if I had even the slightest say, I'd be the first one to show up. But the rules say, oh, now we want to talk about the rules.
Well,
Now we're following the rules.
he did the Triple H thing. I'll defend my championship against you, just not tonight.
Not tonight. And guess what? I was the motherfucker in the front row. Boo, boo, bitch, boo, boo your ass.
Well, I think what was also interesting about that time is obviously the Butcher is the Butcher. Best heel in the business, no doubt about that. But I got to say, it was very fun to do the King of the Mic. One of the best tournaments. The only King of the Mic that we've had, which was last year. I got to ask you, since we're doing the timeline here, and we're going to shoot the breeze and shoot around here, but I got to ask you, going after PromoMania, Butcher's the champ. We have King of the Mic. What were your thoughts of the King of the Mic tournament?
Ah, fuck, Mike Larkin. I said nothing was off limits, and now you've asked a question that's gonna make me go into some shit that I didn't want to go into. But you know what? Fuck it. Here we go.
All right, go ahead, Amir.
What did I think of the King of the Mic tournament?
Yep.
I was happy for the King of the Mic tournament, and at the time, because David had defeated me for the promo championship, which was that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt to lose because David is an asshole, and that's not me talking shit about him. David can screenshot messages and show the world where I've said straight to him, "You're an asshole." And when somebody who's an asshole, who beats you down, verbally and mentally and emotionally, and then you take that shot that I was describing earlier on. You take that shot and hit the bully on the chin, and all they do is look at you and laugh because the punch just wasn't strong enough. In fact, they were completely unfazed. It hurts your pride. And when I lost to David, it hurt because not only did I lose the belt, I believe I lost my ability to cut promos. At that point, he effectively retired me.
Mm-hmm.
I was set on the sideline. It wasn't up to me. And he was saying to people, and rightfully so, him being the best heel in the business, Emir will cut a fucking promo when I say he can. And I was like, fuck. I lost everything. I lost the belt. I lost the ability to cut promos. I lost my fucking smile. God damn it. So I'm sat there watching the King of the Mic, and who dropped out? Who dropped out first?
Okay, so it was I beat Courtney Summers. Travis the Walker Anderson beat Moses Moses Marquez. It all comes back
91.
91 to 9. Still one of my favorite Retro Rewind episodes, by the way. How in the fuck did I get 91?
Shout out to Retro Rewind.
So Travis beats Moses Marquez. Robert Davis goes through Moni Lynn. I go through Travis. And then you were the one who oh god, you were in the King of the Mic too, right? Yes. I know you lost to Robert Davis, and you beat Daniel Crimmins without even saying a word.
Yeah, but here's what I'm trying to get at. I was in the King of the Mic.
Yes.
But there's a reason why. Wasn't somebody dropped out and there needed to be, and I was summoned by David to then come into the competition. Was it Courtney Summers that dropped out?
She already did the one promo against me and she lost. So, I mean, I'm trying to think who else dropped out. I don't recall. I'll be honest with you. I remember it was myself, Courtney Summers, Moni Lynn, Robert Davis, you, Travis the Walker Anderson, and Moses Marquez. And I'll be honest with you. I'm sorry, but I totally forgot who else was in it. But I think, yeah, somebody dropped out. I forgot who, but then you came in.
Right. So, but I didn't just come in just willy-nilly. I mean, it was like, so David, who again is the best heel in the business, and he's the guy who makes the rules and runs the show and fuck what Daz does and fuck what you do. He's the man. He sends me a message. It's like, I don't remember who dropped out, but he was like, "Hey, it's you versus Crimmins. Get a promo ready." And I remember the message came through. And it was weird. I was in the room by myself, but I still looked to my left. I looked to my right. I looked behind me. I checked under the bed. I went outside and put my hand like above my brow because I was trying to look in the distance, trying to figure out who the fuck this fool was talking to. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What you mean? Get a promo ready. And here's the thing. The reason why I was upset and the reason why I was like, no, I'm not going to get a promo ready is because at this time, everybody was aware of and had been introduced to Lewis of Evolution and Pro Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not bringing his name up to start any drama or start any beef, as I have no desire to do that. And if anybody tries to turn this into something, and this is I'm speaking directly to David and to Lewis both. If anybody tries to turn this into something, into some drama, because I'm recapping this story, whether it's Lewis or it's David, y'all are both some assholes if you try to start something crazy over this. Just sit down and chill out. I'm just saying what everybody already knows. But long story short, David made it clear that he had no desire to work with Lewis. He said Lewis was an amateur. Lewis was unprofessional. He's not going to work with the guy. And I didn't think that was fair. I've first off, do you understand why I have RWT, Mike Larkin?
Well, I'll be honest with you. You're a guy that wanted to, have wrestling fans in there as well. And just, it's the common ground of wrestling fans. And you've had bad experience in other wrestling groups. So you started your own group and you've made it what it is today.
Right. So you understand, I don't deal with any version of a dictatorship. I don't deal with, one person going, I've decided for everybody that this is the way things are going to be. And if you don't like it, tough titties. Now, don't get me wrong. I like titties, Mike Larkin.
Me too.
I like all kinds of titties. Big ones, small ones, soft ones, hard ones. But you know what kind of titties I don't like?
Some as big as your head, brother. Some as big as your head. I've got a bunch of coconuts. Yes. Good.
Yeah, I don't like tough titties. All right. I don't like that concept. And so when David says, I don't like Lewis, and I've decided he doesn't get to work with Max Wrestling and he doesn't get to be a part of this competition, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. And normally it's not my place, except for this wasn't just the Max Wrestling thing. This was supposed to be a joint venture. Mm-hmm. Max Wrestling and RW. And last time I checked the count, RWT supplied the majority of the competitors.
Yes, they did.
Okay, so I'm not being a dick by saying that. I'm just trying to say we can't have one person going, this is how it's going to go because I said so. And it's like, no, that's wrong. What you're doing is wrong. You've just decided without even discussing it with everybody else that this is how it's going to be. And maybe in Max it goes that way because Dazzy's a nice guy. He doesn't want confrontation. And Mike Larkin, you're a nice guy and you don't really want confrontation. I'm a nice guy too, but you know what? Fuck that. I don't go looking for confrontation, Mike. You know that about me.
Yep.
I don't go seeking out confrontation. But there's something in me that I can't just sit back and watch somebody else be like, because I said so. I don't give a fuck about what you have to say. I mean, I do if it makes sense, but if you're gonna be an asshole, no. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna cut a promo against Daniel fucking Crimmins. I'm not doing it. There's nothing about Daniel. I love Daniel. He and I were just messaging each other the other day. We checked in with each other. Me and him are good. It wasn't about Daniel Crimmins. It was about, you're not going to keep a man out of a competition for literally no reason and then come tell me, snap your fingers and think I'm going to jump up and do what you say. Hang on. Let me tell you something, bitch.
Let me tell you something, bitch.
Let me tell you something, bitch. Of all the ways that this is going to go, that is the one way this is not going to go. So I said no. I said no for these specific reasons. What David did was he went into RWT back when he still had the ability to do that, and he cuts a live video and he says, you know, the leader of this group, Mary Blackbane Costello, he doesn't care about this competition. He doesn't care about anybody here in this group. He wants to shit on all you guys. There's an opportunity for him. There's a call for him. He's needed, and he said no. And that's what he thinks of you guys. And that's what he thinks of Max Wrestling, and that's what he thinks of this competition. And he never, ever mentioned, by the way, that's obviously all lies, but he also never mentioned the part where I was refusing to compete specifically because he was denying somebody else the right to for no reason. And that's when I learned, like, oh, okay, David is an opportunist, and he's going to do and say whatever he needs to make me look bad and make himself look good, which is a weird position to take because I really could just take screenshots of the whole conversation and post it in the group. But also he knows I'm not going to do that because I don't have a need to feed into the drama. So really, ultimately, I cut a deal with Daz on the back end, and I said, look, Daz, I'll jump in. I'll be a part of this competition. But if I do this, there has to be some sort of assurance from you to me that Lewis will be allowed to compete in the future on the basis that he deserves to be able to, just like anybody else does, and shouldn't be stopped just because David doesn't like him. Because first off, David doesn't like anybody. So that's the barrier to entry should not be whether or not David likes you, because if that's how it went, none of us would be able to compete.
Mm-hmm.
To his credit, Daz agreed. He did the right thing. And so I competed. But see, let me tell you why I'm a smart man, Mike Larkin.
Yeah.
Really, David had retired me. So I had to find a way to compete without really competing.
You did. You did.
Okay. All right. So I cut a promo on Daniel Crimmins. I actually never said a word, but I got the promo done. And to my surprise, I won. And then it was like, all right, you got Robert Davis next. Now, I know that Robert Davis was a guy that I beat to end up facing David in the final of the Promo Climax. Did I want to go against Robert Davis with no words? No, I did not. That essentially is like bringing a pencil to a gunfight.
Mm-hmm.
But my dumbass said in the video with Daniel Crimmins, I put the message that I was going to go through the entire King of the Mic tournament without ever saying one word. And now I can't go back on that just because I've run into this big ass roadblock known as Robert fucking Davis. So I just went, fuck it. I'm just going to do what I can. And Robert Davis.
Well, you told him to kiss your black ass is what you said. You told Robert Davis, kiss my black ass.
All right, I said that, and then he kicked me in my fucking face. So
That he
see, it
did.
didn't really work out that well for me. It didn't work out super well, and and so after Robert Davis defeated me, which was not that was not the rematch that should have been between me and him. There, you know what I mean? But it was what it was. I put myself in a hole. You know, I put myself in a box, and I had to stick with it. And Robert Davis just did what he does, and he murdered me. And you know what? Good. He should have. It was what it was. But even though I got my ass whipped, I at least secured a future spot for Lewis in the competition. And it's not like Lewis is some charity case, because the truth is, though I like and respect Lewis, I would have fought that way for anybody who was being denied the right to compete. If you take Lewis out of it and you add in any other name, I would have fought for anybody.
Agreed. And I look at it like this too. So King of the Mic happens. It comes down to myself and Robert Davis, who I love to death and you love to death. And I win the inaugural King of the Mic. I'm going on to Promo Slam, which I'm going to say this right now. I know Travis was also wanted to challenge Butcher around this time again. So Travis was in there and he won his shot. I'm not saying he didn't fight his way, which we'll get to Travis in a sec. But the original Promo Slam bout should have been one-on-one Mike Larkin versus the Butcher. We've never gotten that. We've never gotten a one-on-one between myself and the Butcher. And I love the Butcher to death, but we've never got a one-on-one. We may in the future, we may not. Either way, we never got that one-on-one. So we go to Promo Slam. I'm in the Fatal 4-Way, and you, sir, are involved in the Civil War. It's yourself, it's Lewis, it's Moni Lynn. Talk about the Civil War, and there's a lot going on there. I mean, you lost to Lewis at Trivia Takeover. We're doing this going towards Promo Slam. It's a Civil War. Talk about the time with you, Lewis, and Moni Lynn and the build-up to Promo Slam.
Okay, so by the way, I'm really excited to get a chance to talk about this, because this is a story that hasn't been told in any sort of capacity. But Lewis was going to be given the opportunity to compete, and I figured he and I should probably compete against each other first. I wanted to help break him in, to this business, so to speak, because I knew that I could work with him. You know why I can work with a guy like Lewis, and really I can work with anybody, is because I don't really give a shit about winning. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's not about winning or losing for me in most cases. It's about putting on a good show. That's why I should never become a wrestler, because I would be Dolph Ziggler. I wouldn't care if I got my ass beat all the time. It would just be like, but did it look good? And so Lewis and I, we had this plan to work together. And so he beat me in the first time we went at each other. And it was so funny when he beat me, because one thing is, when you beat a guy like me, that's not nothing, Mike Larkin. If anybody out there thinks beating me is nothing, fuck you. I'm somebody. As a matter of fact, I'm at the top of this shit. Okay, so when you beat me, that's something. All right, I'll have more to say on that a little bit later. So when it came time for the Civil War, I remember Moni Lynn
Drugging you.
She was inspired by what was going on with me and Lewis, and it made her want to get back in on things. It made her want to jump back in and be involved. And I said, okay, listen, Moni Lynn, good. Here's what we got to do, because Lewis and I want to have a rematch against this guy because he beat me, but we can get you involved. Here's what we got to do. I said, listen, you gotta make a video, and you gotta tell the world how disappointed you are in me, that I lost, that you put all your eggs in one basket, that you really thought I could do it, and that I fucking failed. Like, remember how Triple H, when he reformed DX, he talked about how, Shawn Michaels dropped the ball by losing the strap to Austin, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. We're talking about that kind of thing, And so she was with the shits. So she makes a video talking about how disappointed she is in me, and it was hilarious, bro, because like, she went hard, and she's like calling me out. She's like laughing. She's like, "Oh, this guy's a fucking loser." Blah blah blah. We need a new leader. And people really got worked. A lot of people got worked by this promo because there are people that were like, don't talk about Emir like that. He's the reason why we have a place to come and be here and talk to. Like, people got worked, bro. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, this is beautiful. This is amazing to see people like really passionate, and her performance was so spot on. And so now I'm going at her, and then Lewis went at her, and she went back at him, and now it's the three of us, and all of a sudden everybody's got to choose a side. You know, who are you gonna go with? You're gonna go with Moni Lynn, who's now calling herself the Queenpin. Oh, the disrespect to try to take the name that was bestowed upon me by Dazzy Lee himself, you know, the Kingpin of RWT. She's like, nah, this group belongs to me. And Lewis is like, nah, I'm taking this group and I'm going to take it over. I'm going to turn it into Evolution of Pro Wrestling. And I'm this guy who's just barely holding on to this beautiful thing that I created. And I could lose it to either one at this point, because you know how it goes in a triple threat, man. The champion doesn't even have to get pinned.
33% chance, brother.
Yeah, and that's not good. That's not good. And so I had it in my mind how I wanted things to go. Now, Moni Lynn doesn't really know, or didn't really have any reason to know about this part, but before she was ever involved, the rematch between Lewis and I was always meant to be me putting RWT on the line. Mm-hmm. And my hope was that I was going to do whatever it took, really, to make sure that Lewis won. And he was going to do whatever it took to make sure that he won. Because there was this, like, great idea. I said to Lewis, like, yo, you've got to win this battle. And then RWT, I'm going to literally change the group name to Evolution of Pro Wrestling. And it's going to stay that way for, you know, a couple of weeks, to where people like really believe like this fucker really came in here and really took over RWT like he said he would. He's the fucking destroyer, you know, Baba Yaga, all this stuff, right? And then at some point down the line, either I would battle him and get it back, or I would reveal that I was a part of Evolution of Pro Wrestling the entire time. And I was going to have my wife make me an Evolution of Pro Wrestling shirt, and it was going to be this, you know, it was me all along. I was like, dude, we had this really planned out, okay? And so Moni Lynn being added into the mix added a lot of other beautiful layers that it was just a perfect gift that neither one of us really saw coming, but it all made sense and it all fit. And so people started to, you know, there was battle lines drawn, and some people were rocking with Lewis. You know, Chris Maldonado, I said to the kid, I said, listen, man, you got to be on Lewis's team, because you're like one of my best friends. And that's going to look great. You used to cut promos against Lewis to defend me. Now you got to join the kid. Chris was with it. Other people made their decisions not based on what I said, but like organically felt compelled to choose. And they went where they went. You know, and Moni Lynn had the Queen's Court, and Lewis had Evolution of Pro Wrestling. And I just had like the people who were like, you know what, I'm rocking with Emir. Whatever. Everybody went where they went. And it was so much fun. And it was so amazing. Where things got a little bit like, this isn't a good thing, is Lewis and I were working well together, but at some point, unbeknownst to me, Lewis and David formed an alliance. And I was like, I don't know about that, because the thing about David is a guy who's never had control in RWT, who always treated RWT the way he treated Max, which was, but at least in Max, he's 1/3 of Max Wrestling, though he will tell you he's 100% of Max Wrestling. And he treated Max Wrestling like he was that 100%. He also acted in RWT like he was RWT, to the tune of, and David won't deny it, if he didn't like somebody in RWT, unbeknownst to me, he would just message that person and say, hey, you got to leave the group. It's been decided. You can't be here anymore. And I would have people reaching out to me going like, hey, some guy named the Butcher said I can't be here. Is that true? And I'm like, no, it's not fucking true. So when David joined forces with Lewis, and to that point, Lewis and I had agreed, we got to do whatever it takes for you to win, this group needs to turn into Evolution of Pro Wrestling. When David joined with Lewis, this feeling came to me of like, oh no, brother, that can't be the plan. Now listen, I never discussed with Lewis, him and Butcher joining forces. Lewis and Butcher did that on their own. Whatever. Lewis doesn't have to tell me every move he makes. He's a grown-up. He can do what he wants. But I will say that the moment that I saw that him and David were aligned, that changes things for me, because I can't let the perception be that David has any real power in my group, because even when he didn't have that, he was trying to kick people out, and different people that I cared about left the group because of his presence. And I didn't really say much about it because I love David. Notice I didn't say loved, past tense. I love David Gillum. So those people that left, I just kind of shoulder shrugged it. But when we're talking about me writing a storyline in the background that everybody believes is real, and the perception is going to be that RWT really became Evolution of Pro Wrestling, I can't let something like that happen if the end result is going to be that David is aligned with Lewis, and thus people will perceive that David had a part in taking over this group. So at that point, it really went from me going, this is kayfabe, to, well, now I've really got to compete, because this is crazy right now. You know what I mean? Like, so we continued to compete, and I don't really know. Like, there was some fun stuff with me and Moni Lynn. She was at my house and hanging out all the time, and she and I got really close at this time.
And drugged you?
Yeah, she drugged me. Right. I mean, that was another fun. And so I think for Lewis, he's thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Because he sees me and Moni Lynn at my house, and he was unaware that was going to happen. And I think that's where the waters started to get a little bit muddy between Lewis and myself, was that he did some things that I didn't know about. I did some things that he didn't really know about. And all of a sudden, we weren't really on the same page like we were going into this. And we were getting closer and closer to the date. And it got interesting. And then out of nowhere, Moni Lynn, she pulled the plug on her participation. I think the weight of how big the storyline was becoming and how many people had bought into it. You understand, Moni Lynn was going live in RWT, 20, 30 minutes at a time, and getting like 70 views and all kinds of comments.
Yep.
I mean, she was getting more views and comments going live, just talking about the Civil War, than she was getting by taking the time to record a podcast and putting that out. I mean, she became a star, but she really folded under the pressure of, like, I think for her, it was like, what if her final offering isn't good enough? What if people don't like it? I don't know, man. She said at my job one day, we had lunch together, and she said she was going to drop out, and I just respected it for what it was. And I'm pretty sure, I think we made like a live video together, or we recorded some sort of video together, right?
Yep. And she pretty much said that she's going to rock with you, Amir, do your thing. And then you cut the promo on Lewis, which you won. And you had control of RWT. But what's interesting about this is, too, like, what was great about taking the sides, and you always like to get on me about this, was when Travis the Walker Anderson and I rocked with you in RWT in that uncomfortable live video of him filming me as we were going into Red Robin and eating dinner, which you still get on me about just because of how uncomfortable I looked in the live video. But it was funny. But here's the thing, and I'll be honest with you, and we'll talk about the promo climax too. But I'm not really the guy that likes to go live all the time. I mean, that's your guys' thing. And what you're telling me here and how you lay that out, that makes for beautiful storyline, makes for beautiful storytelling. And I would have liked to see how that would have gone with Lewis taking control of the group for a few weeks and what have you, and then obviously going back to RWT and you being, it was me all along with you being associated with Lewis. But you see, that's what makes beautiful storytelling. And unfortunately, things did happen. You have control still of RWT, excuse me. Then we get to the Promo Climax too. Now you were doing Beyond the Mic with Daz, which I love doing that show, and we got a chance to get to know the competitors and what have you. Unfortunately, there was a lot of shit hitting the fan in the Promo Climax too. It was a bit of a shitstorm. It was a bit of a clusterfuck. Daniel Crimmins dropped out in the second bout against Robert Davis. No Tavda. People were going out of Block B like that. Just, that, and that. And again, it was the boom block against probably the most civil block with Block A in the Promo Climax 2. So I got to ask you, going into Promo Climax 2, what was it like, obviously, with the captain? It's Beyond the Mic. You get to sit back and watch it. What were your thoughts before the whole shit hit the fan?
So I came up with the idea of Beyond the Mic. Only that's not what I called it. I don't remember what I called it now. But whatever I called it, my name was good too. And I thought I'm not going to be competing, but I would love to interview people competing on a week-to-week basis and give the listeners a chance to really get to know these characters that they're going to be voting for. And especially at this time, I mean, my God, the Demoness had made her debut, and I'm telling you, man, just oozing and dripping with charisma. I was like, oh my goodness, she was what an amazing creation that she was. I remember that I saw the first live video that I saw of her. It was dark in the background. There was like an orange, ominous glow on her face, and her laugh and her eyes. And I said something. I clicked on the video. I got the notification. I was at work, and obviously in America, on the West Coast, the sun was still out, but in the UK, it was nighttime for her. And she said something like, something Kingpin, we like you, but
Yep.
her accent and everything, I was like, I like you too. It was her character spoke to me. The Demoness, man, the Demoness is a larger than life character that we do not deserve. She needs to be on somebody's screen, in somebody's movie. I mean, she should be doing way bigger things than competing in promo competitions with us schmucks. But she was kind enough to grace us with her presence, and so I just wanted the chance to cover that stuff. And Dazzy Lee is a guy who never gets in the mix, never gets involved in any of the drama, constantly works his ass off and creates these beautiful, beautiful videos to promote everything. Going back to the Civil War real quick, the promo video where that Daz created, where he uses a clip of Moni Lin talking about me being a loser, and then it cuts to me and I look all sad, and then it cuts to Lewis. Lewis is doing his laugh. And Lewis made his eyes so big, ha ha ha, ha, like his evil laugh. Yeah, and it's all about how I lost, and I forgot that this was about me. Like watching the screen, I'm like, oh man, I feel so bad for that guy. And then I was like, oh shit, that's me. That guy is me. Daz really knows how to capture everything so perfectly to really get empathy and sympathy for the babyface. And man, to his credit, he got that moment spot on. And I just wanted the opportunity to work with him in more of a capacity than appearing on Max Wrestling, because the Max Wrestling podcast, back when I used to listen all the time, it was great. But the problem is David doesn't shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? David just talks and talks and talks, which, by the way, he's the best heel in the business, and that's his gimmick. But the problem with him talking so much is it's not that often that I really get to hear what a Mike Larkin thinks or what a Dazzy Lee thinks. And so I wanted the chance to work with Daz. So he gave me that opportunity. I'll always be grateful for it. The problem, as you stated, was that people started dropping out. There was a lot of drama, which really stemmed, again, from the Civil War, because at some point at the end of the Civil War, David, he and I, we weren't really talking a lot at that time, because there was a point where he was cutting these live videos and I kept deleting the video. And then at some point, I don't know if I think he left RWT or something like that because I kept cutting his video feed or whatever. And then he ended up joining Evolution of Pro Wrestling. And so it really felt like the deck was stacked against me. And when I ended up winning that competition, which was not the way it was supposed to go, it should have been Lewis, but it should have been Lewis without David on his team, in my opinion. At some point, David revealed to me, that he was out there campaigning for me to win. Now, this was unbeknownst to me. I want to make this perfectly clear. I wouldn't have known that David was campaigning for me because he and I weren't even speaking to each other at this time. There was this little beef between us because I cut his video feed and then he left RWT and blah, blah, blah. All this drama happened. So I didn't know that he was out there campaigning for me to win. Not where I would have seen it or not where Lewis, I don't know where it was. I just know he said it and I saw some screenshot or something. I don't know if it was on Twitter, but wherever it was, he was saying to people, to vote for the Kingpin. I wasn't aware of this. What worried me was if Lewis finds out and he then thinks that the whole time I was in on this would understandably create problems between me and Lewis. And that I won't have any part of because I didn't know anything about it. It was nothing I signed off on or agreed to, and I wouldn't. Literally, to my knowledge, David had joined the Evolution of Pro Wrestling, and he was trying to recruit people over there. I didn't know it was anything but that. I had no reason to believe that he wanted me to win whatsoever. So I said to Lewis, hey, I just found out that this is what's going on. I'm just letting you know I had nothing to do with it. That was my intention. Because to me, it's after the fact, it's besides the point, and it's neither here nor there. If I would have known how angry that information would have made Lewis, I would have just kept it to myself and just went, well, if he finds out after the fact on his own, then I'll just make it clear it had nothing to do with me. But I had a tough choice to make, which is say nothing and risk looking like I was a part of it, or be upfront with this information so I can make it clear it had nothing to do with me. Lewis was beyond rip shit pissed. He said a bunch of crazy shit about David. Mm-hmm. David said a bunch of crazy shit about him. David insulted Lewis's wife and his son. It got bad in a hurry. And I feel terrible about that because it was a shitty position for anybody to be in. And it was one of the things that really ruined the tournament. The Promo Climax, it ruined it. It put everybody in a position on multiple occasions to have to do a silent secret vote, the competitors, about who to keep in or not. Also to the tune of, and you know this to be true, and I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I was unaware of it, but Courtney Summers at the time had felt some type of way, about David, and she had some accusations about some things that were said and what it made her feel, and it was very in line with the Me Too movement and along the lines of some harassment and stuff like that. I didn't know that stuff. I didn't. By the way, I never saw that. So, what I want to say is, anything I ever heard David say to Courtney Summers, I didn't take it as like he's on his way to her house to sexually assault her or something like that. That's not how I took it. But the problem with sexual harassment is the feeling is determined by the person who feels harassed. So she felt what she felt. I have nothing, that it is what it is. But the point is that there was a lot of bad juju surrounding the Promo Climax, and a lot of it had to do with personal feelings that some people had toward David. Some of it was fair, some of it wasn't. And a lot of it had to do with the bad blood that was brewing between Lewis and David over the fact that I revealed to Lewis that David had been secretly campaigning for me to win the Civil War, which really had nothing to do with me. And that was my way of just trying to keep my side of the street clean. And I hated the Promo Climax too. I don't know about you.
Oh, dude. Again, I'm the champion in this, and I didn't even want to do it, man. I think the thing is, though, Daz will even say, like, the positive out of that, we got Mikey Two Belts. I mean, I always say this, like, if you kind of think of it like I'm the squeaky clean white meat baby face who wants to be the fighting champion, but I'm also being a dick because everybody's cutting these promos, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to make fun of each and every single one of you. And that's what I did with my comedy aspect and saying this and saying that. And obviously the promo on Zach Herring that you love, where I told him to get the fuck out of here and spit right in the fucking camera, which you thought was so hard. But I'm like, I have to change this up a little bit because I'm going to keep going against multiple people. And I mean, we got to see Travis shine. We got to see Chris Maldonado. Evolution is fucking beautiful, bruh. We got to see a lot of great people in the promo climax, like Robert Davis. I was so happy to go against him. The Demoness, like you mentioned. Like, I was so happy just. All right, here's the thing. I was upset because of what was going on with the drama, but as the champion in this, I'm happy because I get to work with a lot of people. And what Dazzy, now you and Daz know me, so you know I'm going to message everybody and say, hey, I'm gonna be a dick in this, but it's just it's just for the promo, which was correct because I did. I wanted everybody, to give me their best, and I wanted to see everybody, shine, tell a story, right? So we're going into this, and I'm having fun, but I'm also like, man, this drama is kind of bringing me down. It's bringing everybody down, and everybody dropping out. So the promo climax 2 was not the finest of tournaments that we've had, and there's not going to be another one now since we have the promo league, which we'll get into. But fun statistic, fun fact, stats and facts here, Mr. Kingpin. You and I could say that you and I were the only two promo climax winners, with you winning the belt in 2018, and then last year me retaining the belt in 2019 and winning my block against Travis. So you and I are the only two winners of the promo climax.
That's amazing, and I'm happy to hear that, man. I'm happy to be mentioned in the same breath as a Mike Larkin, who clearly was Mikey Two Belts, and your title run. Your title run was it was amazing. Your title run was a gift and a curse to me, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
First off, what you did in the first promo climax, I think that you were a kid who was stuck in a shell, and you were pretty quiet. You didn't make too many waves, and let the world hear it. Everybody who can hear this interview, if you can hear it, I beat Mike Larkin.
You did.
First try. All right. Travis the Walker Anderson. And by the way, Travis is somewhere getting bowled up at that comment, and I don't give a fuck. But then you came out of your shell and you became this guy, and you were tearing through everybody. You were winning promo after promo after promo. Now, I love the fact that you came out of your shell, and I love the fact that you were being so creative and putting so much into it. The problem with your title run, with your run through the promo climax, you being the promo champion, there was only one problem with it.
Good.
And that is 3 letters. LFC.
Yes.
Okay, now, these comments that I'm making towards you, Mike Larkin, on your show, on your network, on your platform, are completely unbiased, okay? Let's not mix any words when we say that somebody like you, who has the social media presence that you have, if you go against, Travis the Walker Anderson or Robert Crazy Eyes Davis or anybody else who lacks that presence, and it's a competition that's decided purely on a popular vote, we can't act like that's nothing. So your talents improved a billion times from what you were doing initially. But it's hard to tell everybody that you defeated, would you have actually defeated them, and would you have defeated them by as much as you defeated them if they had a comparable social media presence to you? Now, it's not your fault that you have a shit ton of followers and you do a popular podcast and all these people will come and vote for you. But do I think that everybody that voted for you voted unbiasedly for you? No, I don't. I think that people voted for their guy. because that's how human beings vote. People vote for their guy. All right. If you're a Mike Larkin guy, even if you look at a promo and you go, well, this person's promo I think was better than Mike Larkin's. But anybody, let's just say, I don't know, the Demoness.
Of course you're gonna go with that example. Go ahead.
Just a random example, just a random name.
Yeah, okay.
All right, but if you're a Mike Larkin guy or a Mike Larkin girl, if Mike Larkin is your guy, it doesn't really matter if the Demoness's promo was better. You just vote for your guy. And maybe that's okay for a few matches, but to me, I think people competing for the belt have got to believe that they could possibly win it. There's got to be some belief on their end that they're not fighting for nothing. They got to believe they're fighting for something. And you couldn't be defeated under the way that the rules were set up. And it's not your fault how the competition was set up, but you found a major, without trying to, you found a major loophole. And it's a problem. Mike Larkin was a problem. First off, you were always a problem because couldn't nobody beat your ass at all when it came to the Knowledge Championship. And I sent you screenshots the other day of me plotting with Moses Marquez, trying to find ways to beat you. And then you whipped Moses' ass. And I told Moses, I said, listen, he's whipped my ass 3 times. So take it easy, Travis the Walker Anderson, because I know what it feels like to lose to Mike Larkin. That was 3 times back then. I've lost to him a million times since then. But you whipped my ass 3 times. You whipped David's ass. And I told Moses he's going to whip your ass too. And Moses went like, well, I'm going to do what I can. And then he came back and was like, I didn't get a single point. And as you saw in the messages, I said to Moses, we're going to get Larkin someday. I was a guy who used to stay up at night plotting ways to make you lose. That's just the Knowledge Championship. And that's because you know more than anybody else. That's one thing. So you were a problem on that front. But the Promo Championship, the problem is that if nobody believes that they can possibly beat you because your social media presence is so big, they're never, ever, ever going to have enough people to vote for them. What is their motivation to compete?
You make a fair point. I will say this. Even if I didn't have the LFC and obviously the social media presence, I would say, I will say this. Like, I love my fans. I love my fan base, and I appreciate people that support me, as do you and many people that listen to this show. I will say this. I still would have given you what you saw in the Promo Climax, what you saw at King of the Mic, what you saw at Promo Slam. I still would have gave you each and everything that I had. And if I would have lost, I would have lost. But like I said, I'm grateful for my fan base and people that supported me. And I just got to say, I had a lot of fun with my reign. I think you could tell throughout the entire thing I was having fun. And that's really what it's about at the end of the day, is having fun.
Yeah, I agree, man. And so at some point, the rules were changed.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't changed to your benefit at all. I remember me and David used to be like, not when you were a promo champion, but just the Knowledge Championship. We'd be like, fuck Mike Larkin. This fucker. We gotta do something. We gotta stop this fucker. We can't live like this. You know, David, you know what David is?
Good.
David is a fucking winner. That's what he is. David Gillum is a winner. And if you don't think that about David Gillum, then you're wrong. He's a winner. And you know what? Emir Costello is a winner. Except for Mike Larkin turned us into 2 big old fucking losers. And neither one of us handled it very well.
You know what it is too? Well, this is when you said that you like to be also in the same, vein as my name at the Promo Climax. I'll actually flip it back on you, Amir. I think for me, I always say I am one of the longest reigning promo champions, you being the longest reigning with 144 days, and I'm right behind you with 136. So I always put that in there just so I can also say I'm honored to be in the same vein as you as far as a long title reigns with the promo championship. So that's where I give you your credit and flip the script back.
I appreciate that. And I know we've left some question marks, you and I, about whether or not that we would be competing in the future, because I faced you at a time where, let's face it, you weren't yet prepared to face the beast I was at the time.
No, not at all.
And with that being said, you have so much charisma and stuff. Listen, I purposely have not faced you since you became the cool Mike Larkin, because you already kicked in my ass for the knowledge title. There's no reason for me to get my ass whooped on the promo side too, because why do I need that in my life? You know what I mean? But but that, never say never. There may come a time where Mike Larkin, the podcast machine, formerly Mikey Two Belts, gets his chance to get revenge on Master RWT Kingpin, Emir Blackbane Costello.
I'll say this. I'm not the guy from podcast, the Promo Climax in 2018. I am the podcast machine. I am Mikey Two Belts. I am a man of many names. But, I mean, to go against the Kingpin, I consider an honor. And I think you and I will have this one day. And it'll be awesome. We're going to give him a show.
I can't wait, brother.
Now, speaking of giving him a show, there is a show coming up, and it's called PromoMania. It's called PromoMania V. Now, I would like to run down the card with you because there are some matches that's going to take place on the kickoff, and there are some matches that are going to take place on the main card. Duh. So here we go. First matchup on the kickoff. It is now a 4-person Iron Bank, because as you heard and as you completely laughed at this past week on Max Wrestling, last week, the second part of the 5-year anniversary, Team Iron Bank beat Team Championes and Moses Marquez and Travis the Walker Anderson. So Travis the Walker Anderson is out of the Iron Bank, and now the Iron Bank is being contested with yours truly, which if I win, Grand Slam, here I come. The Phoenix, former Iron Bank winner, the Butcher and newcomer, and the youngest competitor in the Iron Bank and on Max Wrestling at 22 years of age, the host of a Wrestling Gal podcast, Ella J. So that is your Iron Bank for this year. Now, as someone who's competed in Iron Bank, the first one lost to the Phoenix. Last year, you were in it as well, and Kenny Killa won. And this year, it's the 3 Max Wrestling captains against Ella J of a Wrestling Gal podcast, who's an absolute sweetheart. What are your thoughts on this year's Iron Bank?
I want to see Ella J win it. I don't know anything about her, but I think it's always good to have a fresh-faced person come in and make a big and immediate impact. And I think everybody who's been around for a while has just been kind of circling the drain, and the tough part about that is, a lot of people who are still competing, they're doing so because they were never going to beat you. You know what I mean? But still, with that being said, I think it's more than time some new people rise, and I love that, man.
I love it too, and I mean, we almost had the first ever female Iron Bank winner last year when Courtney and Kenny came down in the final there. But what's interesting is Ella J, who can actually name all the Royal Rumble winners in order, which is absolutely awesome. She's one of these girls that's very hungry, and I love her. She's one of my homegirls, and I think you guys are going to love her. Ella J is an absolute sweetheart. We got the Butcher, who hasn't even competed, and who even will admit that he's only in it for the numbers. Butcher, who hasn't even competed in a trivia challenge since 2017 when he was going for my Knowledge Championship. This is the Phoenix second time in Money in the Iron Bank. Well, it's Money in the Bank, but it's our version. It's Iron Bank. This is the second time he's competing in it, Amir, and it's a Plan A to what he has for Plan B, which I'll get to. And this is my first time in it, so I'm looking forward to it, which gets us to Plan B for Phoenix if he doesn't win the Iron Bank. It's the Phoenix against Beer, who is a former Max Wrestling Max Wrestling member and also a former Max Wrestling star in a sense. He was on a couple times. He was in the final of the inaugural Trivia Takeover, which Kenny won the first ever Knowledge Championship at that time in 2016. And he's Dazzy's best friend in 19 years, as you heard in the hot seat with Daz, the captain. So it's going to be either Phoenix or Beer to challenge the current Knowledge champion, Moses Marquez, on the main show of PromoMania. Thoughts?
Moses Marquez, I think it's kind of cool that he finally won the Knowledge Championship. And the reason why I think it's cool is because it meant so much to him. Like, I don't think you really understand how bad he wanted to win that belt, man. Like me, I was like, I just kind of accepted the fact that I was shitty at Knowledge. And Moses was like, no. Moses was like, I am shitty, but I refuse to accept it. And
We do have history here, Amir, because he is the first ever RWT original to win the Knowledge Championship, because the list of Knowledge champions went from Kenny Killa, Mike Larkin, Kenny Killa, Mike Larkin, the Phoenix, who had a short reign of 35 days, poor Phoenix, and now Moses Marquez, who is now 62 days into his reign as Knowledge champion. So the outlook of this is, if Moses somehow retains a Promo Mania, he surpasses Kenny Killa's second reign with the title at 70 days. But if he loses, he'll be around the same point as when Kenny held it for the second time before losing it back to me. So, yeah, let's see how Moses does. And yes, he has been very passionate about wanting that title since late 2018.
Yeah, I hope, for what it's worth, I hope that he wins, because again, I know how much it means to him. But honestly, if with him and as a tag team, if that's any indication, that boy better hit the books.
Oh man, after what happened. All right, so Beer was unable to compete. It was supposed to be Phoenix and Beer. So I'm like, all right, I don't want Phoenix to have a handicap situation. So I said, let me offer my services. And then we spanked that ass. That ass got a pound, and Moses and Champions got a pound. So he nothing. So yeah, so it was what it was. So I hope Moses has a better outing at Promo Mania, which now brings us to the main. Dude, we got 3 promo bouts on Promo Mania 5 now. We'll start with the first one. Dude, I'm taking a break. I'm going to be off Max. This is my final promo and trivia challenge for a while. Mike Larkin goes head to head with the Shape in the first of the no winner, no loser challenge. Now, have you been enjoying the vignettes, and are you looking forward to myself going head to head with the Shape?
I am looking forward to you going head to head with the Shape, because I know exactly what you do and I know exactly what you bring, and I feel the opposite about the Shape. I don't know what the fuck, is it a triangle or an octagon? I don't know what's going on with this guy, but I want to see. I just want to see, man. Like you have an act that is must see, and the Shape is one of those things that I've never heard of. I don't know what to expect, so I'm very excited to see this matchup.
So the vignettes, obviously been doubting myself since I lost the promo championship. This dude comes out of nowhere, challenges me. I was at Podcast Promo Rumble 5. My first ever special. I haven't competed for a championship or anything since like promo series. So I'm doing that. I get challenged at the end, and then here we go. The build's been great. I had the shovel talk about my victories, and I really have been enjoying the story that we are telling going into Promo Mania. And I'll be honest, this is another first for me, because this is my first ever promo challenge at a Promo Mania, so I'm going to give it my all, and I know the Shape is as well. So I'll be honest with you, I'm happy. This is probably, and I say this, I love everybody that I work with. I think you could tell the genuineness in my voice, but this is one I'm really, really looking forward to, and one that I hope nobody misses, because you should. It's great. It's good stuff. Don't miss it. And then we get to the second no winner, no loser challenge. It's you and the Butcher, man. It's a year later. Let me ask you first and foremost, what can we expect between yourself and the Butcher? Now, I know you guys have not talked, and I know you enjoyed the In the Hot Seat with the Butcher. He apologized to you. He got very open and in depth about the situation with you and everything that went on. So what can we expect from you, and what did you think about what he said in the Hot Seat?
First off, stop it. Knock it off with all that he apologized stuff.
Well,
All right. Hey, listen, David's apology. Anybody who's ever watched the Chappelle show, when
yes.
when Rick James was like, "What you talk about? I ruined Eddie Murphy's couch. I would never put my feet into another man's couch. What do you think? Somebody do something like that, they would have to have no sense at all. I would never ruin somebody else's couch. Yeah, I remember ruining Eddie Murphy's couch.
Yes.
That's exactly what David's apology was like. In the beginning, he was like, you know what? It was what it was. I said what I said. Do I have any regrets? Fuck no. And then way at the end of X amount of minutes later, he was like, am I sorry? Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, well, yeah, I remember ruining Eddie Murphy's couch. No. What David Gillum. Is David Gillum an asshole? Yes. Yes, he is. Is he a fucking cunt? Yeah. Yeah, he is. But you know what else? I love David Gillum. I do. He pisses me off, man. He makes my fucking blood boil. I want to fucking slap his stupid fucking face sometimes. But That's, let me tell you something. When somebody makes you feel things like that, a lot of it is because somewhere I care a lot about David. From the moment I met him, I cared a lot about him. He's a different kind of guy. He's a different kind of guy, and I understand him. I said at the beginning of this episode, I understand him, and I love him a lot. And he's one of, I've walked away from a lot of people in my life. I'm good at that. I'm good at walking away when I realize there's nothing left to be had. And David is one of only two people, him being the second person, that I've walked away, and I often look back and think, man, I wish that would have turned out differently, because I love him. I really do. I just think that David's got to find a way to chill out. You know, he's got to let cooler heads prevail. He's got to be able to draw a line somewhere. You can't treat people the way that he's treated people and think it's going to be okay. It's not. You can't treat me like that. And when I listened to his interview with you in the hot seat, I listened to him talk about things from his perspective. Mm-hmm. Listen, I couldn't really see things from David's perspective when it was happening because I was so angry at him. At the time, I couldn't really think about something being unfair to him because, let's be honest, he didn't give a shit about all the things he was making unfair for other people. And I was so upset at him for how he had treated people and how he had treated me. The bad things he said about me, the harsh criticisms he had of my group and the people, and it was all very upsetting for me. And when I listened to the interview, he brought a lot of that stuff up, but because I wasn't angry, I was able to really understand his perspective on it, and it made me remember that there's more to a story than just my version of it. You know, there's what he went through. By the way, do I agree with anything that he said? Mm-hmm. You know, to people and how he treated people? Absolutely not. You know, he owes more than just me an apology. But with that being said, could I have conducted myself better? Could I have done things better? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have my fair share of regrets, most of all that David and I haven't spoken and that we aren't friends. And so I just thought to myself, you know what? How crazy would it be if I challenged this motherfucker?
The memes were great, bro. The memes were great.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I didn't really run that. I didn't run it by you. I didn't run it by Daz. I just created some shit and put it out there to see how people would react to it. You know, and I saw people reacting with a shocked face, with the, you know, I saw some, oh my God, I saw some like, oh, you don't even know how crazy this is gonna, you know, just like I saw people reacting to it because people understand this story that's been told between the Butcher and the Kingpin. People understand it. They've seen every part of it. They know all the sides. And when I put those memes out, I didn't really know what would happen. So I just put them out there. And then next thing I knew, and I was putting them everywhere, in the RWT group, in my Facebook page, on my Twitter, on the RWT Instagram. I just put it anywhere where I do social media. And then next thing I knew, I saw an announcement from Daz that the match between me and David was official. And I thought it was ironic because David and I still haven't spoken. It wasn't like I said to him, hey man, you want to go one more time? And he was like, yeah. It's like, no, I just put out, you know, 4 or 5 memes and just saw what happened. And clearly at some point on his end, it got back to him because of course. And clearly he must have agreed to accept whatever challenge he thought that I was making. And so here we are. And I think the point of this is for David and I to get a chance to say everything that we never got a chance to, whether that's good, bad, ugly, or whatever else is in between. And that's why this isn't about winning or losing. This is about closing the book, you know, finishing up a chapter, closing. This is about writing the final chapter in this book that is me and David. And it doesn't mean that there won't be more books, but this shit was left unsettled. this shit was left unfinished. And at PromoMania, it is my intention, and clearly it is his intention to finish this one way or the other. Either I'm going to put him down or he's going to put me down. But when the dust settles and the smoke clears, there will be a resolution.
Beautifully said, my friend. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm excited to have you back in the mold because you're one of my buddies. You're one of my brothers. And I truly mean that. I know the captain feels the same way. Dude, I'm just so excited that you were back on a Max Wrestling / RWT Presents PromoMania special. And I'm going to say this right now. We ain't done here yet, Master RWT Kingpin, because then we have the final promo bout. The Promo Championship is on the line as Travis the Walker Anderson, who's been wanting this bout since November, goes head to head with one of the fastest rising stars in the promo game, the Demoness.
Travis the Walker Anderson. I hope you're listening to this, man. I hope you've hung in here through the entire hour and 31 minutes and 7 seconds so far, just so you can get to this part where I mention you by name. I'm never going to forget Travis the Walker Anderson when David said he gave you that name. I'm never going to forget when David antagonized you and talked shit about you and pissed all over anything you ever did and made it seem like you didn't deserve to compete and you weren't on his level. I'm never going to forget a point where you got so angry at David that you came into my group, RWT, and you posted a video saying that you were literally going to kill David. And you weren't saying that as part of a character. You weren't saying that as part of a promo. You were saying that as a legit shoot. And when you took a moment afterward to think about what you had just said and the fact that you had posted that on the internet, you went back and you deleted that video out of the group. And to your credit, you offered some apologies. I don't know why you apologized to me. I didn't have any problem with it. I get it. I want to kill David too, man. I just played. But I understood that you had been pushed to a level to say that by a bad man, the Butcher, who was all over your case at the time. And then I don't know why or how, but at some point you went from wanting to kill Butcher to probably being best friends in the world with him, hugging it out and all. And I think the problem with that is you stopped being Travis the Walker Anderson and you started being a little Butcher. And the thing about the Butcher is he crosses lines. He doesn't know when to quit. He doesn't know when to stop. He disrespects people and he feels nothing about it. And I saw a video where you mentioned the Demoness.
Yep, that was on last week's Max. Go ahead.
And you ended the video by calling the Demoness a bitch. Let me tell you something,
Bitch.
Travis the Walker Anderson. Yeah, let me tell you something, bitch. If I had been stood next to you when you opened up your filthy fucking mouth to disrespect Nicola McDonald in that way, I would have slapped you so hard that David would have felt it in the UK.
Oh.
I'm talking frequent flyer miles, motherfucker.
Just for the record here, we talked about this, and Travis and I'll be honest with you, out of all the people I talk with, if it's not with my promo family, my boy Steve and Travis and you, dude, I was talking to you about this and your blood was boiling. He's like, did he just call her a bitch? I'm like, yeah, he did. You were fuming.
Travis the Walker Anderson is not in Nicola McDonald's class. Now, feel free not to let that get you bowled up, because I'm not in Nicola McDonald's class. I have no qualms about saying that. I think I've clearly stated that she is a gift from below, not from above. But Corey found that out, didn't he? Oh. And she's not to be fucked with. And I think with Travis Travis, I'm speaking directly to you now. What you got to do is you got to find a way to compete. But you got to find a way to compete with honor. You got to find a way to compete with respect, okay? And calling the Demoness a bitch, there's nothing respectable about that. I'll slap the taste out of your mouth. You say something like that in front of me. I don't give a damn about a promo championship, all right? And I don't care if Corey's standing there. He can't protect you. This is the Kingpin, Travis, talking directly to you. I stand firmly with the Demoness. Always have, always will. And I hope you've enjoyed your time being promo champion. You worked your ass off to get it, no doubt about it. Unfortunately for you, there is no amount of work that you can do. There is no amount of words that you can say. And you can call Nicola all the bitches in the world, but there is nothing that is going to stop her from walking up to you and not only taking that belt from around your waist, but taking your fucking soul.
So here's what's interesting, and I put this together for the bout with Travis and the Demoness. Now, to speak on Travis, yes, he's had a hell of a long journey to get to that promo championship. He wanted the Butcher. He went through Courtney Summers, then he went through you, Mr. Travis, the motherfucker Walker Anderson. I'm a celebrity. Get off my nuts, homie. He went through you. That would be you, sir. And then he went through the King of the Mic, beats Moses Marquez, loses to me. Then we get to Promo Slam. He's right behind me in second place in that, for those who remember, in Promo Slam in the votage. Then we go through the climax. He goes through everybody in Block B. I go through everybody in Block A. I beat him at Promo Series. He winds up beating Andre Corbeil at Promo Series. And then we get to the rematch, which I'm going to say this right now. Travis and I, outside of this, we live 6 hours apart from each other, guys, and we're homies, we're buds. We'll go to Red Robin, yum, and have some burgers. But with Travis and I, what's amazing to see about Travis is what pissed me off during our little feud. And now this is a guy, I loved our feud, Amir, and I think you can agree. When he wrote MCL sucks on a sign at AEW Dynamite, I laughed my ass off. I thought that was great. That built to our bout, and it built to him and Andre Corbeil. I think you could agree on the storytelling aspect of that. I loved it. But I think what Travis is, when he had the quote-unquote advocate that was the Butcher by his side, that's why I was making the most gay, I'll say gay, and the most innuendos of their bromance every chance I could, because it pissed me the fuck off that, he had a little Butcher chip, 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 chip in his ear, and I hated it. Then he beat me. Well done. He finally got me. And then we go to him and Moses Marquez at Podcast Promo Rumble 5, which we saw the debut of El Jefe. So I got to say, thus far, since you said that Nicola firmly is going to beat him, and we'll discuss the history and what's going to be made here if that occurs, but I got to ask you, his promo title reign from beating me to beating Moses Marquez, now here we are for next week, which will be PromoMania. What have been your thoughts about Travis as the promo champion and the El Jefe bout?
I think that Travis the Walker Anderson is... First off, I want to say this.
Good.
Travis the Walker Anderson didn't go through me because I wasn't in his way.
Correct.
The reason why I faced Travis the Walker Anderson is because his best buddy, who wasn't really his best buddy at the time, David, was crying about the fact that in lieu of Courtney Summers not being able to compete, that Travis Anderson would get a bye. According to David, nobody should get a bye. Everybody should earn everything.
No buys, Amir, no buys.
No buys. Okay. So I stepped in to go against Travis Anderson. I did not compete against Travis Anderson. Let's not mix any words about this, okay? I stepped in and cut a know-nothing, lack of passion promo just for sake of it looking like Travis Anderson had a match. He essentially had a bye going against me. Didn't, because I don't care about wins and losses. It makes no difference. I wanted to see Travis Anderson compete as much as he wanted to compete. And what happened to appease David. But really, the purpose of it was just like, all right, fine. David wanted to compete. We'll make him compete. But we really didn't. I just stood there and pretended to compete. I didn't promote it afterward. I cast one vote, just like anytime I've gone against David. I cast one vote, and that was for my opponent. I did nothing at all to try to win that battle because the purpose wasn't for me to win. The purpose was to give the illusion that Travis didn't have an easy road. Now, with that being said, I think Travis the Walker Anderson cuts a fantastic promo.
Yep.
Okay. I think Travis the Walker Anderson has worked his ass off to represent RWT and to represent Max Wrestling, going above and beyond with bumper stickers and decals, for his car, to signs on TV, to having specialized shirts made.
And Jeff,
I've never seen.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but he's also the guy that got Jeff Hardy to do an intro for Max Wrestling.
Yes, I've never seen anybody work as hard as Travis the Walker Anderson when it comes to promoting these two groups. So what do I think about his title reign? I think that Travis the Walker Anderson is a worthy promo champion, and I think that he deserves to be champion. I think that he's also champion at a time where a lot of the big competition aren't really competing, but that doesn't mean he couldn't hold his own. I mean, he has had some clearly notable wins.
Yep.
Let's not mix words about that. And do I think that he can beat Nicola McDonald? I don't. But that's not because it's Travis. It's because it's Nicola. I don't think I can beat Nicola. I don't really think anybody can. It just is what it is. She's next level good. And I don't think any of us, excluding nobody, is on that level. And if Travis thinks that he's good enough to beat her, he should think that because he's the champion, but he should also know in the back of his mind that he's not on her level. Like, you know what I mean? That's coming from a guy where I myself am saying I'm not on her level, and I think I'm one of the best out there.
So, and I'll say this to put over the demoness, I come to caress, I will take your soul and put you in a hole. To talk about the demoness as the one in 6-1 who beat her when I got my old demon on in the Promo Climax 2. Personally, thank you. Personally, one of my favorite bouts, and just a story that we told, and I love working with Nicola. She's one of my homegirls. But like I said, I barely survived hell. I'm going to say this right now because she gave me everything. She was going to axe me. She was going to do this. That girl was come for you. We're outside your house, Larkin. I remember that promo. You told us to come into light, so we did. The girl was coming from a throat, so I had to do something to me. I had to change it up. I can't just be this bubbly guy that your friend, you're sunshine, and that like I did with Butcher. I got to switch some shit up. So I had to give it my all, and I barely survived. So I'm not taking Nicola McDonald lightly, but the thing with Nicola McDonald is, and I'm going to say this, I don't think that like you said, I don't think that Travis the Walker Anderson is going to be the second person to beat her. And this is no disrespect to Travis, because Travis has been working his ass off. And then when he finally got the title, he's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Did I personally like the fact that he said, I'll see you at PromoMania, bitch? Not my thing. He did what he do, but I think the thing with his promos is, and I like his promos too, he does cut a fantastic promo. I made the joke that he sounds like he has Tourette syndrome. And the reason why I say this, because if you notice when he starts these promos, what you fucking doing? Fuck, and this and that. And what he does, he goes into like a Shane Douglas ECW promo where every word's a curse word. Because you notice with like promos, like they'll go to the pan to the crowd, they'll go at the crowd, they'll start the promo, but when they get that zinger, as I like to call it, that zinger, that is that curse word, Amir, it means something. You know what I'm saying? Travis is just out here, cursing for the sake of cursing. You know what I'm saying? And that's like the difference that I have with it. If that makes sense, how the analogy I'm putting it.
It does make sense, but I just want to be clear because I can see how somebody will hear everything I've said and go, oh, this is a guy that hates Travis the Walker Anderson.
No, we're not shitting on him. We're putting him over.
Yeah, because I don't hate Travis the Walker Anderson. I don't believe that he belongs in Nicola's class. And honestly, I don't believe anybody does. So it is what it is. And if people hear that and get mad, then good, fuck them.
So the tail of the tape
She's
looks
in a
like
class her own, man.
Exactly. So the tail of the tape looks like this, Amir. Nicola, 6 wins, 1 loss. Travis the Walker Anderson, 8 wins, 4 losses. Nicola McDonald, one of the stars, and if not the star, the Promo Climax, going against Travis. It's the main bout, Promo Championship on the line next week at PromoMania. We've discussed our predictions, and we've discussed what we think is going to happen. Now, little bit of history coming here, Mr. Mir Blackbane Costello. So if Nicola McDonald, aka the Demoness, wins, she will be the first ever female Max Wrestling champion. We've had none for the knowledge, we have none for the promo, so she would be the first ever female champion in Max Wrestling history.
Well, it's to quote Paul Heyman.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't a prediction. This is a spoiler. But you know what? All the pressure is really off Travis the Walker Anderson, because at the end of the day, if there was no way you were going to win anyways, then nobody's holding it against you when you lose. You know what I mean?
True. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they both come up with. I think this PromoMania is our most stacked PromoMania. I mean, we have you and Butcher, we have myself in the shape, we got Travis and Nico, we got Knowledge title, we got promo title, we got Beer in the Phoenix. Man, this is gonna shape up to be one of the biggest events in Max Wrestling / RWT presents PromoMania 5 years. Dude, I gotta say this about you. I've been a member of RWT since 2018. It's always been a joy being a part of your group. To meet a great friend like yourself, dude. The first time you were on a special was when I lost the Knowledge title in 2018, and then the second special you were on was when I won it back in Promo Mania. And then, dude, we've been riding this ever since with your association with Max and RWT. For me, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure doing this with you from the hot seat. Just a pleasure to know you all around, Kingpin.
I want to say thank you so much, Mike Larkin, for giving me the opportunity to do this. My voice hasn't been heard, let alone in this capacity and at this length in a good long while. And it felt good to speak from the heart and to talk about things that before today were so like behind the scenes and only a few people knew, but just to kind of speak freely and not really worry about the repercussions. It felt really good. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank Daz. You guys always try to act like RWT has played such a big part in Max Wrestling's success, but the truth is, you, Daz, and David, you guys are rock stars, man. You guys were going to be successful no matter what. It is what it is. I'm proud to have been just to be able to participate. And I thank you. I thank Daz. I thank David as well. And I thank everybody who comes into these groups and gives their time to it and makes it feel like a family. Families aren't. It's not always love. Families fight. Families get on each other's nerves. It gets bad. It gets good. It goes back and forth. But at the end of the day, for the most part, families, will stick together. And so I feel good about that. I wish everybody luck at PromoMania. And did I expect to be in a position to be competing with anyone, let alone against the best heel in the business? No, I did not. And I don't really know. I do know what to expect. I expect that David's going to do what he does. He's going to say whatever the fuck he wants, and whoever has a problem with it, fuck him. and I think that for me, I'm going to do what I do. And that's why this is going to be great. And once this episode comes out, tomorrow, whenever it comes out, it's going to be time to really ramp things up and really start building this and get people excited about it. And I'm going to go full tilt, and nothing is going to be off limits, and at the end of the day, I'm telling you, man, it's going to be epic, bro.
One final question before we promote social media, RWT, the whole nine. Dude, there's this thing. It's called the Promo League. It's right after Promo Mania. Right now, we have 5 participants. We have the Demoness. We have Travis the Walker Anderson. We have Corey Coulter, a.k.a. Cypher, who we saw against Teddy P and the Demoness. We have the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast host and the heavy metal Jesus himself, the oddity Mike Jolly, and we have Moses Marquez. So I got to ask you, Amir Blackbane Costello, will we be seeing you in the Promo League?
Shout out to Corey Coulter, man. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him, but at some point, Travis messaged me and said that he's known Corey for a long time and are the best of friends. And I don't know who Mike Jolly is. I'm that guy who, like CM Punk or one of these other guys who stepped away from the business. And while I was away, I didn't watch either. I didn't keep up with it. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what's going on. and now I've come back, out of nowhere, and I'm getting a place on the card, and maybe some people will have their feathers ruffled about that. The promo league. All I'll say about that is never say never. You never know where the Kingpin may pop up. Nobody saw this coming, right, Mike Larkin?
Nope, nobody saw it coming.
All right. So you never know. You never know. The promo league and stuff like that, it's a young man's game. People are up and coming, trying to make a name for themselves. I've made my name, but that doesn't mean that I won't pop up and whip somebody's ass, because there are some people in that league that are owed an ass whooping from me. And if anybody in that league is smart and they want to be somebody, they should want to face me. They should want to face the Kingpin. So am I in the promo league? I think only time will tell, my man.
All right. Now, if you are, I'm going to say this. There's new people to go against. Obviously, you and the Demoness. You and you and Moses Marquez would be very interesting. Mike Jolly is very cool. He's got a little bit of dark side to him. Corey is great. He's a great guy, amazing dude. He beat Teddy P, and he did a bout where it was dark. It was good versus evil, dark and light with the Demoness. And the other person that is in there is Travis the Walker Anderson, who you fought last summer. So, I mean, there's another rematch for you.
No, that's not a rematch. That would be a first-time bout.
Okay. All right. First time bout because of what happened. All right. But still, I mean, Travis, he did say bitch, and I mean, that's something to progress with, man. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you and Travis.
Yeah, I suspect that Travis and I definitely have a date down the road, because there's something between he and I. There's something between he and I for sure. And it's going to have to be settled, but not behind closed doors. It's going to have to be settled out in the open and in front of everybody. And it's going to have to all be laid out. I'll never forget meeting Travis the Walker Anderson, the way that I met him. And I will always be thankful to him for everything that he has done. But Travis the Walker Anderson hasn't done all good. There's been some bad in there. And there's going to come a time where I address him in front of the family. And he is going to have to step up and give some explanations for some of the things that he has done when nobody was looking. And he'll know it. He'll know it when it's time. And I hope that he does the right thing and steps up and accepts the challenge, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
All right. And we'll end it like this, Mr. Amir Blackbane Costello. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where people can follow yourself and Raw Wrestling Talk. The floor is yours.
RWT, man. Twitter, it's like, I don't know what it is. RWT Podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Instagram, it's RWT Raw Wrestling Talk. The YouTube channel, RWT Raw Wrestling Talk. And then Facebook, join the group, invite your friends. And feel free to follow me on Facebook too, just at RWT Kingpin. Shout out to Harold Joseph Hunter III, Eric L. White, and Daniel Crimmins. Those three RWT members literally have the best Facebook accounts I've ever seen. They keep me entertained. They're hilarious, and they're passionate. And all three of them, I appreciate that. But yeah, that's where you can find me, man. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this interview. I always have fun in the hot seat, and pay attention to what happens between me and David, because nobody's ever going to forget it, man.
This week on Max is the final stop before PromoMania 5. Next week is PromoMania 5. Dude, I'm happy to have you a part. Can't wait to see you. Can't wait to talk to you. It's always a pleasure. It's always a privilege. For the RWT Kingpin, my name is Mike Larkin. This will conclude another edition of Max Wrestling in the Hot Seat. We'll talk to you in the next episode. Peace.